There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings success, companionship, health, happiness, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Hi there, I'm your host, Janine Burns. And if you call yourself spiritual but not religious, then this show is for you. During the show, Spirituality Rocks, we teach practical spirituality. We teach that there's one ultimate loving energy, presence, and power in the universe that expresses in you, through you, and as you. And whatever you choose to call this power, God, spirit, source, infinite intelligence, divine love, it's there and it's seeking to express through you. We co-create with God, and it is our thoughts that create our realities. Thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. And so today, I have a fantastic show for you. Via Skype from Colorado, I have George Mentz. Dr. George Mentz is the author of Spiritual Wealth Management, the Abundance Bible and Prosperity Manifesto. He'll be joining us just a little later. And in the studio, I'm delighted to have with me, I'd like to introduce to you the Reverend Karen Giganti. Reverend Karen is a staff minister at the Center for Spiritual Living in Hicksville. She's a decorative painter as well, and she has a company called Sacred Spaces. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you.
Glad to be back.
Good. And right here we have with us Carrie Feeney. Carrie calls herself spiritual but not religious. And I was noticing, Karen, and we were talking about there's so many people who practice practical spirituality principles but never have been introduced to a doctrine that teaches principle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it is truth. So when you start studying these principles, there's something within you that says, I really know this. I already knew it. Because we all know it.
And so that's what we call you, Carrie. Carrie is also a stylist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
So as mentioned, we're talking about prosperity today. And what I'd like to do is start by defining prosperity, because I think prosperity means different things to different people.
Right.
Tell us.
To a lot of people, prosperity means having an enormous amount of money. You know, right away, that's what we think of, money, money, money.
Right.
But my best definition of prosperity was something that I read by Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, who is was a New Thought minister. And in his book, How to Be Healthy, Happy, and Wealthy.
Let's show that to the people. How to be healthy, wealthy,
and
happy by Raymond Charles Barker.
Yeah, well, anyway, what his definition of prosperity is the ability to be able to do what you want to do at the instant of time that you would like to do it. So in other words, like after this show tonight, if we have enough money to get on a bus and get home,
If that's what we want to do.
if that's what we want to do, and if we'd like to stop for coffee, if we have enough money for coffee, then we're prosperous. We have enough money to do what it is we want to do when we want to do it, right here, right now. Prosperity is not something that happened 15 years ago or 15 years in the future. It's right now. And then when you're feeling prosperous, what you're doing is you're inviting more. You're inviting more of that. So, you know, it's speaking to the universe,
Right.
God.
Well, feeling, I always like to say, feeling is the fuel that brings your thoughts into manifestation. It's like gasoline in a car. Well, you're feeling. That's why gratitude is so important
Right.
in every aspect of our life, and especially in prosperity. Carrie, how do you define prosperity?
I define prosperity as your personal wealth, your health, your love, your family, what you do for a living, your creativity for me.
Nice. I like that.
Yes, if it can flourish, you're
Right.
prosperous.
Okay, well, I'm digging both definitions. So I want to tell you a little story. If we believe that there's only one presence and one power that created all of the universe and that created us, then within us is all the resources we need. We've taught on the show before that the two main aspects of God are love and wisdom. And so that energy of love is the glue that connects us one to another. And the wisdom is divine ideas. We always have the divine ideas necessary to bring forth our particular good. So then, if we're one with this amazing power, that means all of our good is ever available whenever we need it.
Exactly.
So then, it would naturally result that what we need to is expand our receptivity and capacity to receive. We need to expand our consciousness to say, thank you, universe, for all the good that's available to me, and accept it. So there's a great story I remember telling years ago when I was the leader of a spiritual center. And it was a story about this man who was fishing on a dock, and he sat there all day fishing, and he caught a big fish, and he pulled it in, he took it off the line, and he made a smirk and a frustrated face, threw it back in the water. The guy next to him looked at him like he was crazy. And again, a little while later, he's out fishing, sitting there, catches a fish, an even bigger fish. He shakes his head in disgust, pulls it off the line, and pitches it right back in the water. A little while later, he catches a little fish, a fingerling, a really little fish. He brings it in, and he's gleeful. Yay, look at this, yay. He was really happy. Puts it in the bucket. Finally, the guy next to him can't take it anymore, and he says to him, wait a minute, I don't understand. You catch 2 big fish, and you throw them back, and you catch this little fingerling, and you're all sorts of happy. I don't get it. And the guy said, yep, I've got a small frying pan. Right?
I like that story.
Isn't that a great story?
That is.
So that's like a metaphor. How big is your consciousness?
Right.
You know, is your consciousness equating to a small frying pan or a big frying pan? Louise Hay tells the story in her book that the wealth of the ocean, the infinite ocean of good, is ever available. Are you going with a bucket or are you going with a thimble? It's up to you how much you're
What you
receive.
accept for yourself.
What
know?
you accept.
If we limit ourselves. We say, well, not me. You know, I'm not old enough. I'm too old. I'm this. I'm that. I don't have this education, and whatever it is, and then God, the universe, just accepts what it is we're asking
Yes,
for.
yes, yes.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us look at the appearances. I mean, there's a lot of facts. The fact is the economy isn't bad. The fact is there's unemployment. The fact is people are fearful about health care. But what is the truth? We must always go back to the spiritual truth. The spiritual truth is I am one with an amazing presence and power. That is my source and supply. One source, many channels. There's many channels through which our good can come through. You know, I have a CD of spiritual jingles. I know you sing them.
Oh,
you sing them as
yes, I
well?
love it,
Well, I know
yes.
you do. And one of my jingles is one source, many channels. It goes,
yes.
one source, many channels. One source, many channels. One source, many channels. God alone is the source of my good. God alone is the source of my good. And I wrote that to remind us that our good can come in so many directions. We must make ourselves available. We do that with affirmations. We do that through meditation. We do that with affirmative prayer. There's so many techniques. And right after our commercial break, we're going to come back in just a little while. And we're going to talk to George Mentz, Dr. George Mentz from Colorado, who wrote this book, Spiritual Wealth Management, The Abundance Bible and Prosperity Manifesto. And so, stay tuned. We'll be back in a little while with more of, you ready? You with me, ladies?
Yes.
Spirituality
rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine. Stop the truck! Stop the truck! Thank you. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Delighted to bring you this show on prosperity and how you can experience greater prosperity in every aspect of your lives. I'd like to let you know what we have for you this week. If you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Post Office Box 472, Woodbury, New York, 11797, the information is on the banner on the screen, we will send you, at no charge, affirmations for prosperity, such as, my mind is filled with ideas that empower and enrich my life. I choose to pay attention to that which nurtures and encourages me. I have greater success than ever before, and money flows to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. And I continue to thank Spirit for all my blessings. So these are just a sample of what we'll be glad to send you if you send us a self-addressed stamped envelope. And so, today, I have for you a friend of mine. I met George at the Affiliated New Thought Network, one of our conferences over in Phoenix, Arizona. George is a lawyer. He has got more credentials than I have names, and we can let him tell a little bit more about you. He's a professor. He has faculty positions with top business schools, Wall Street firms, and on and on. George wrote this book called Spiritual Wealth Management, The Abundance Bible and Prosperity Manifesto. And so this book is available on Amazon. George's website is spiritualwealthmanagement.com. And so, George, welcome to Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Dr. Janine. How are you?
That's fine. Please feel free to call me Janine. It's great to have you on the show.
Well, thanks again. This is great.
And I'll call you George, okay?
Okay.
We'll leave the titles aside. George, I'm excited about your book. Tell me, how do you define prosperity?
Well, I define prosperity in some traditional ways. About 100 years ago, when New Thought and mental science and those things were becoming very popular, a lot of the people who discussed prosperity would talk about the ability to express yourself in its highest way, to live your life to the fullest, to be rich in life and full in life in both body, mind, your body, mind, and spirit. So it's really a lot about balance. If you think about prosperity in general, there's an unlimited amount of love. There's an unlimited amount of wealth and richness and fullness. I think about some of my best friends growing up who are great artists or great musicians, and the way that they can express themselves and present their beautiful work to other people. I mean, that is true wealth when you can do things like that. Now, naturally, I come from the Wall Street world. I have a law degree, an MBA. I worked as a stockbroker and a wealth management advisor to some of the richest people in North America. So I have the practical background also, and I've written books in wealth management and financial planning. I still teach wealth management for a law school in San Diego. It's one of the first wealth management courses that's been approved by the American Bar Association. So I I have a hybrid background of both a spiritual approach and a practical approach towards prosperity.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, what I like in your book on page 1, and the chapter is entitled The Metaphysical Secrets. And what it says is the definition of abundance and true wealth is arguably the free and unrestricted use of all the things that may be necessary for you to advance in the direction of your dreams and potential, thus attaining your fullest mental, spiritual, and physical prosperity. Karen, comment for us.
That's it. You know, it's mind, body, and spirit. If you're healthy, if you're able to do what you want to do, and if you have that real sense of being connected to something higher, some power higher than yourself, then you can't lose. You'll never get tripped up by the lower thinking of the world.
Right.
So
because you have that connection to spirit.
you always have that connection. You always have that inner guidance, that intelligence, that wisdom that comes through you. And if you're open to paying attention, you'll never be guided in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people, your intuition, or you just know, you have a sense.
You know.
And I always say take a step in the direction of your good and see what happens. Step in that direction. You don't receive the divine guidance today that you need next week. The universe doesn't work like that. Whatever you need in the now moment, we're living in a now universe,
Right.
You receive that guidance now. Carrie, you had a question?
Yes, if you are just starting out, how do you become wealthy in mind, body, and spirit?
George.
I think my first advice to those out there is to to go buy an 89-cent notebook at the local store or Dollar General or whatever it might be, and start writing out some things you really, really want to do with your life. Some things you thought about as a child, some things you think about today. You can have 10 things on there, you can have 100 things on there, and start thinking about them. Even Dr. Wayne Dyer said, even though you can't let go of some old habits or you don't feel like you can change, start thinking about it, and that's the best thing that you can do. The next best thing really is starting to evaluate your life and look at what's productive and constructive, and then look at the things that are holding you back that are potentially destructive. Because if you start going through that catharsis and letting go of the old stuff and making room for the new, that's how your life expands. You start thinking about things, those things start expanding. You start going through the catharsis and getting rid of things within you, and that creates a spiritual vacuum. So that's one of the things that a lot of the law of attraction folks are forgetting, is that you have to, even Catherine Ponder said that, the famous Dr. Catherine Ponder, that you have to start pruning the tree and go through that catharsis and let go of a lot of that stuff, and embrace love and wisdom and forgiveness, and then you can start moving forward.
So how specific, George, how specific do we need to be?
I think specificity, from my point of view, is very important. And I'll give you one. You talked about a metaphor earlier. There's one story about Dr. Murphy, or Joseph Murphy, or one of these writers years ago, who said that someone read about the law of attraction and they started praying for money, 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 money. Well, they got injured and they got a check from on an injury settlement, because the point of the story is that we should be specific somewhat, but we should also allow for something better or greater to unfold according to I guess divine wisdom or the spirit of the universe. That's the best way I can put it.
Right. Well, yeah, and Karen, we
Yeah.
don't want to break our leg and get
No.
a $500,000 check.
You get specific, and then you say this, it's equivalent or better.
This or something better, right?
Right.
And with peace and ease and joy.
Right, with
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah, with grace. Yeah, we don't want to constantly say,
No.
Okay, universe, I want money, 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 lots and lots of money flowing to me now. We want to make sure that we have that clarity.
Yeah.
And so in your book, you do have, talk about a mental blueprint, and you talk about being very precise about it. And that you say that when you have a clear picture, that it strengthens your desire. And so why is that?
I think there's several reasons, but I think developing a clear mental picture is really the birthplace of ideas. And there's two ways to have ideas. That you can think of something and start to make that blueprint, that mental blueprint, or you can actually seek guidance and inspiration, and the flow of those ideas can come to you, and you can think about acting on those and making that blueprint as well. And that's where putting pen to paper actually matters too, is you can start to write out exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. And even if I've actually taught college level project management, and even if you look at basic military or on the ground project management that's used in Silicon Valley at Google, it's a task based world. You're doing one thing at a time, one foot in front of the other. As I say in the book somewhere, if you do 3 things a day for the betterment of yourself and other people, at the end of the year you've done over 1,000 things to help yourself and your family and those you love, and the ripple effect is huge.
I'm digging that, George. Kerry, 3 things a day.
3 things a day doesn't seem too hard.
No, I was thinking the same thing. It seems pretty easy,
Yeah,
right?
very
That's
easy.
that's an obtainable
That's
goal,
it,
because
yeah.
I think sometimes, we'll say, well, I have to clean the whole closet, and we open the door and we go, ah! But if we, clean a shelf at a time or a section at a time, so I really dig that, 3 things. That's very manageable, especially to add to my seemingly busy schedule. And also 3 is the spiritual number of completion.
Yeah, well, even sometimes when I start a painting project, and the client will say to me, wow, this is a really big job. It's a big, big space. And, if I let that in and take that on, I can feel overwhelmed. But I take it as one section at a time, one wall at a time, one piece of furniture, whatever it is I'm painting and creating. So little by little, you chip away and it's all
Yeah.
finished.
I like what you just said about if I let that in, because people will tell you stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe it. You don't have to
No.
hold it as your truth. And a lot of times we do, and especially things that are negative.
Well, that's so big, because the fact that you said we don't have to. Some of us don't even realize that we have that choice to recognize what someone's just said and say, well, not in my world, or
Right.
I'm not accepting that. I can choose to see it differently. But until you really realize that, the minute someone says something to you, you're just like, oh yeah, that's right. This is such a big, overwhelming project.
Right, and you buy into that negativity.
Yes.
We were talking
Yeah.
about that. Remember we were saying I refuse that negative thought.
Yes.
I refuse to participate in this thing called recession.
Yes.
I refuse doubt. I refuse fear. We use that as a way to deny the negative.
Not
That it's
letting it
certainly
in.
not going to happen.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Well, we said earlier in the show, thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. That's a very
Right.
common phrase in New Thought. George, we have a couple of minutes before the commercial break. I love your steps of attunement in your book on page 13. You talk about clearing away mental debris through a process of self-analysis and attunement. And you said what this does is brings us greater peace of mind and mental effectiveness. I love that, mental effectiveness. And you talked about remain teachable. And you know what? I think so many people, their ego gets so big, and they say, what are you kidding? I mean, I've studied this course, I've studied that, I know this, and I could be teaching that. Rather than knowing if the universe puts something in front of you, then there's some
Something you
gleaming
need to
piece
know.
of truth. Say that again.
There's something you need to know.
There's something you need to know.
Yeah,
Be receptive to it.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you talk about developing character, seek change, and be open to growth in your favor. Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know if I want to change so much. Sometimes I'm very comfortable just the way I am.
Which is fine if it's working for you and you're happy and peaceful. But if you feel that inner something, then you know that it's time to accept
Change.
something else.
Right.
Change, yeah.
And honesty, integrity. I know that's important to you, Carrie. Honesty,
Huge.
integrity, doing what you're saying, what you
Saying
mean.
what you're doing. If you're going to do it, do it.
Do it. Be honest.
Yeah.
Have,
And if
have-
you can't, just say you can't.
It's okay
There's
to say
nothing
no.
wrong with that.
Right. There's a way that we can say no. Purity of thought. Keep your thinking clear. Act now and enjoy the moment. I love that now thinking. I find the times that I feel stressed, if I do stress, it's because in my mind, I'm thinking about something that's happened or some kind of reaction happened or I'm concerned about something in the future. How do you keep your thinking clear, George?
I personally, I can only speak for myself, really, and I've counseled a lot of folks too, is keeping good routines is probably one of the first things that you do. You take care of yourself, get a good night's sleep, eat right, sleep right, get up, get some exercise. do your spiritual quiet time in the morning or the evening. Get your stretching in. All of these things add up to being a well-balanced person, mentally, physically, and spiritually. But getting back to the attunement or at-one-ment, all of that stuff helps you have a greater connection to the universe or to a God that you understand. I heard you guys talking before the TV went on, and I'm very familiar with some of the programs such as the 12-step programs and A Course in Miracles. As a matter of fact, I just finished a little 50-page essay, and I call it A Course in Prosperity. I took the concepts of Course in Miracles and just turned it into a prosperity course, because I do think that there are a lot of us that they can go through the catharsis. They can develop some purity to get clear. We can live in the now, but then then what's next? You can be empty, and then what's next? And I guess a lot of that is what my books are about: is how to go to the next level. How to let go of the past if it's holding you back. How to put one foot in the front of the other, develop that character. And that belief and that consciousness, like you were talking about earlier, really one of the major things of personal development and being wealthy really is developing a consciousness of wealth, a consciousness of worthiness, a consciousness of love and confidence, and all of those things. If you look at Paul's letter to the Corinthians, you'll see different things like patience, kindness, and love, and humility. All those things add up and gratitude. I think all these things add up to what love is. It's like a recipe, and if you're living in love and you're living in a consciousness of worthiness and wealth, that God is gonna, or your higher power is gonna take care of you, you probably will inevitably become great in your world. People will be attracted to that.
Yeah. You said something that reminded me of Frank Richelieu. Frank Richelieu wrote a book on prosperity, very famous New Thought minister. And Frank Richelieu used to talk about experiencing prosperity. He would say, go into Saks Fifth Avenue and try on a $1,000 dress and get the feeling. He would say, go into, whatever car you like. Is it a Lamborghini? Is it a Mercedes-Benz? Go into the dealership, sit in the car, and imbue yourself with the energy of what it feels like. And he talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I've talked about that too. I always suggest that, if you have china or some good crystal, use it.
Right.
Like, what are you waiting for?
Don't save it.
Create the feeling of wealth in your life. Like, treat yourself good. If you have nice clothes, wear them. If you walk into a hotel and go have a cup of coffee, just get the feeling of belonging. Yeah. Don't decide that, well, someday when I have enough, maybe. It's now.
Get that feeling.
Just feel it now.
A great key.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All righty then, George. We are going to be back right after this commercial break with more of your book on spiritual wealth management. So stay tuned for more of Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful framed prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. We are live from the Madhouse Studios, Deer Park, Long Island, New York. On Skype, our guest this week is Dr. George Mentz, who wrote this fantastic book, Spiritual Wealth Management. And in the studio, I have with me Karen Gigante, who is a staff minister with the Center for Spiritual Living in Hicksville. Carrie Feeney, who's a stylist who calls herself spiritual but not religious. Now's the time in the show, George, that we do affirmative prayer. So we're going to do something a little different this week. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to swing it over to Karen, who's going to finish it up. So let's go within. I invite you to take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth a couple of times. If you do this regularly, this is a strong nonverbal message to the subconscious mind that you are ready to pray and to receive. I'm going to speak these words in the first person, so I invite you to resonate in your own consciousness. The wisdom and power and creative energies of spirit are extended and expressed through me, just as a branch of a tree is an extension of the life of the tree. I open my mind and heart to this power, and I feel my oneness with this inner presence. I believe in infinite substance and infinite supply. With this spiritual mind treatment, I expand my receptivity and capacity to experience all good in every aspect of my life and affairs. I give thanks that infinite intelligence is showering me with its riches, bringing harmony, peace, inspiration, and blessing into my life. And because I'm one with spirit, I know that love, joy, beauty, peace, ease, and prosperity in every phase of my life is expressed right here and right now. Reverend Karen.
And so today, the possibilities of my experience are completely unlimited. Spirit always flows through me, inspiring me and sustaining that inspiration. I have the ability and I have the talent, and I am busy using them. This talent is divinely sustained and marketed under a universal plan of right action. So life is open to me. I accept a bigger idea of life for myself. I accept it right here and right now. And so I know that everything I need, I already have. All the wisdom, all the intelligence, all the new creative ideas, all the love is within my consciousness. And so today I am so grateful. I am so grateful to know that God, Spirit, that universal co-creator of the universe is for me, never against me, is right here, right now, and is accepting whatever it is I'm asking. So today I'm asking for a new, expanded, and unlimited life full of new creative ideas and wonderful new experiences.
And so it is.
And so it is.
All righty then. Thank you. Woohoo! Well, I trust that the viewing audience got revved up and revitalized from that affirmative prayer. Thank you very much, Reverend Karen. And so, Carrie, you were talking about gratitude during the commercial break. What do you got to say?
Well, I can't say enough about how gratitude is so important and how it's so important to have a gracious attitude. And I know where that's very important in my life. But Dr. George, I would like to know, why is gratitude so important in general?
I can personally tell everyone here that's watching this show that gratitude is what dispels the number one problem, and that is discouragement. Without gratitude, it's hard to have a living faith. And faith is the substance of things unseen, and faith is the actual energy, the power that kind of brings you to the next level. Think about it this way. Gratitude and faith and all of those things, if you add them together, it gives you that energy. If all things created equally, if you want to stack the cosmic cards in your favor, you will try and exercise gratitude in your life on a daily basis. Anybody that's never read Wallace Wattles' famous book called The Science of Getting Rich, you look at chapter 7 in there on gratitude, and you will be blown away. Read it if you're one of those people that wakes up on the wrong side of the bed every day. Read that chapter, or read my book, and you can look at my chapter on gratitude. Read it every day for 30 days, and you will be permanently transformed. Because after about 20 days or 30 days, you're going to wake up on the right side of the bed, and you're going to go, wow. And then you practice gratitude in your life, on the ability to walk, to talk, to see, to live, to love, to laugh, the basic things. I mean, I tell you, years ago when my father became disabled and he couldn't walk anymore, I realized how grateful I was to be able to walk and talk and get around, because he died of old age, but I'm just saying, he lived a long and prosperous life. He was a judge. He was a World War II combat veteran. I mean, living to 85, that's a good life. He had a good life. I'm not saying anything was wrong with it, but it's, if you're developing and cultivating a thankful heart and a consciousness of gratitude, you'll start waking up on the right side of the bed more so than not. And if you have that balance, all things created equal, if you put just a pebble on one side of the balance, a pebble of faith, it will lean the seesaw in your favor, or the balance in your favor. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, gratitude is everything. Gratitude, I love that Plato quote. Let's see, a grateful mind is a great mind, which eventually attracts great things. Isn't that great?
I love it.
So, in the book here, we have this whole section on visualization and meditation exercises. And so what you're really talking about is your mental vision, you call it, a mental vision. How do we create? I know I've had people when I've counseled with people or I've done spiritual coaching, they'll say to me, Rev, I don't know how to visualize. I can't visualize. How can you get a mental vision?
Well, I'm not the first person to say this. You can read T. Harv Eker or Anthony Robbins or any of those guys, and you can see that there's if you're not a spatially minded person, or a quantitative person, and you need help, you can make a poster board or a picture board, or you can write down things in a notebook every day and read them when you wake up in the morning and read them when you go to bed tonight, whether they're your goals or your aspirations or they're just affirmations. All of it is good, and all of it helps to put on the picture screen of your subconscious the things that you really, really want to do, that you want to make important. And by virtue of that type of basic effort and willingness, I say willingness, it doesn't take willpower, it takes willingness. By virtue of doing those things, your subconscious mind will start working for you, and you will start to act and move freely, more joyfully, and things will show up in your favor. If you look at what Thoreau and Emerson and those guys were saying in Boston, 200 years ago, they said the same thing, that if you start doing these things, you will start living in a higher order of existence. And I was there, Janine, when you had Marianne Morrissey there, who was talking about quoting Thoreau in that speech that night, and that was I still remember that to this day.
Yeah, yeah. You brought up the subconscious mind. Karen, the subconscious mind is critically important when we're talking practical spirituality, because it's the subconscious mind where the law, the creative power, the law is how the universe creates, acts. Can you talk a little bit about the subconscious?
And the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. If we're thinking about something that we don't want, for example, the subconscious mind doesn't know that that's something you don't want. The subconscious mind thinks that's what it is you're asking for.
So the subconscious mind is always saying yes.
It's always saying yes. So, that's what we're talking about, doing a vision board, using your imagination, your visualization for what it is you do want to create, what it is you do want to see. These are all tools to get you centered and focused on that path that you would really like to be on. And then your subconscious mind is just responding. So then everything necessary, the right people show up, the right ideas, whatever needs to happen, happens.
So that's what we're doing then, is we're really reprogramming
We're
the
instructing.
subconscious
Yes,
mind.
exactly.
That's why we do affirmations. That's why we have spiritual food every day. And I like your idea, George, to have a list by your bed and then wake up in the morning and focus on that
Yes,
particular
because
goal.
that's how you set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
When you get up and you do your spiritual work. And I liked what you said before, George, about you need enough sleep, you need to eat right, you need to exercise, get some air. All of that stuff helps you to be able to stay on that higher place in consciousness. Because if you're tired, if you've eaten the wrong things, it's so easy to feel negative. It's so easy to feel fearful, to accept the, what I always call like that lower thinking of the world, to
Yeah.
listen to the media and get caught up
Yeah.
in nonsense.
Yeah, it's pretty common knowledge. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. You're in a place where negativity can just, come into
Just
your brain and
feeds
sit
on
there.
you. Yeah,
Breeds.
yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
It breeds.
Breeds.
Negativity.
Breeds
it
is a good
breeds.
word.
What do you
Yeah.
mean? Tell us more.
Negativity, it keeps going. It's an
Yeah.
energy, it's an emotion, it doesn't go away. So if you constantly think negative thoughts, you're going to receive negative actions.
Right.
And negative thoughts back.
Right,
And negative
right.
thoughts in return. Right. It's like a snowball at the top of the hill. Rolls down and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. Yeah. And so, what I wanted to look at too, which I thought was important, is if you're just starting out, where do you go? What do you do? What's next?
I personally believe the best thing you can do is either, if you're a reader, pick up some of the shorter books. If you look at my book, it has an excellent bibliography of some of the top prosperity thinkers probably of the last 200 years in there. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that esoteric spirituality goes back to Pythagoras and Buddha, whatever, 2,500 years ago. It's been around a long time. It just so happens that I think that the United States and the freedom of religion and freedom of thinking has allowed people to express themselves and write about, prosperity consciousness and a new thought and all that stuff as a byproduct of that freedom. But where do you start? With books. If you don't like books, go to YouTube. If you don't like YouTube, go to your local Conscious Living Church or Conscious Living Center, whatever you want to call it.
Center for Spiritual Living.
And hear some people speak. If that's not for you, maybe go to look up in your phone book or in the local guide for some self-help groups or things like that where you can hear people talk about this stuff. But it's a lot more available than it was, say, 20 years ago when I got involved in all this. I think now with the internet, and you can join online groups on LinkedIn or Facebook and start to learn these things. There's free books online that you can download. Amazon even has some stuff that's free. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So the door is wide open, and I think the video and the audio that's available today is excellent. And it doesn't matter if you who you listen to, whether it's some of the top guys like Brian Tracy or Anthony Robbins or T. Harv Eker, any of these big gurus out. Marianne, what's
Williamson.
Return to Love lady?
Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, I mean, any of these people, if you can see any of them speak or buy any of their tapes, you're gonna do fine, and you're gonna learn a lot. And you're gonna grow very quickly.
Okay, very good, very good. We have a commercial coming up in just a second, but I want to talk, in the book you talked about protecting your energy. What does that look like? What does that mean, protect your energy?
That's kind of a difficult and a delicate subject, but I think that if you're trying to grow and you're moving through life and you're making some changes and transforming, you might want to avoid certain things that kind of put you back in a negative state. I'm not saying to avoid life altogether. All I'm saying is to your audience is you don't have to step in front of a bullet train to know that that's a dumb idea. You don't have to stand next to somebody with some awful contagious problem to learn that that's a bad idea. And the same holds true with there are some people that are just toxic that they have their own path and their own journey, and you need to protect yourself from too much exposure to people who may or may not love you enough to allow you to grow, and people who may or may not be supportive of your growth.
Yeah. Karen?
I totally agree. That is so important. And I know for myself, there are certain people that, it's a delicate subject, but you need to move away from them and bless them in a very graceful way. But there are some situations that once you really decide to live very consciously and to mind your own garden, the garden of your mind, certain people, certain situations, television programs, things that are on the radio, you learn to shut it off. You learn to just get rid of it.
And I think they naturally fall away as well.
Yes.
And I think, but I also think the world is a mirror. If someone is disrespecting you, recently someone, I found they were inconsiderate and disrespectful. And I said, well, where am I being inconsiderate and disrespectful towards myself? Yeah. And I had to really look at that. Where was I not being loving, kind, supportive? How was I being hard on myself? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's sort of a double-ended coin.
Sometimes they become our greatest teachers.
Yeah. Wow. Sometimes stuff like that, yeah. Sometimes people
but we
like
can still
that.
release them at some point.
Absolutely. I have a jingle. Oh, I bless and I release you to your highest good, and I sing that. That's my jingle that I sing. I'm putting all my affirmations to jingles all the time. That's how I roll. We're going to be right back in just a moment after these commercial breaks with Dr. George Mentz and the Reverend Karen Giganti, Kerry Feeney, and I'm your host, Dr. Janine Burns, with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful frame prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn?
Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure.
You'll be happy you did.
Like so many people, are your finances tight lately? Afraid to open your mail or even answer your phone? Well, take heart. You don't have to live like that. If you're 62 or older and own your own home, you can join the thousands of folks who have used safe and effective government-insured reverse mortgages. The government-insured reverse mortgages from Long Island's Senior Reverse Network allow you to stay in your home and turn equity into tax-free cash. Our government-insured reverse mortgages can eliminate mortgage payments, credit card balances, or just improve your lifestyle. Do yourself a favor and solve these problems now. Call the Senior Reverse Network, and our advisors will answer all of your questions about our reverse mortgage programs. We've helped scores of senior Long Island homeowners like you who now enjoy a worry-free retirement. Get the financial security and peace of mind you've dreamed about. Pick up the phone and call us at the Senior Reverse Network now to set up a free consultation.
Call 1-800-985-REVERSE. That's 1-800-985-7383.
peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. Today our show is all about prosperity and how you can experience prosperity in your life and affairs. This is the segment where I like to ask my guests what are their favorite books. George, what is your favorite prosperity book? This is Dr. George Mentz. He's the author of Spiritual Wealth Management. So besides your book, George, besides your book, Spiritual Wealth Management, what is your favorite book on prosperity?
My favorite book from the turn of the century is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and then The Master Key System. It was written about the same time by
Who wrote The Master
a guy
Key
named
System?
Dr. Charles Hanel. Now, in recent history, I think T. Harv Ekker's book, The Millionaire Mind, was probably the best audio book on prosperity I've heard in 10 years. But those are my faves.
Who wrote The Millionaire Mind, please, George?
A guy named T. Harv Eker.
Okay, and so I'm sure those are all on Amazon. Okay, Karen, what is your favorite
Yeah,
prosperity
I was
book?
going to say the same. I was going to say Wallace Waddle's book. That's
The Science of Getting Rich?
Yes,
Which
that's
is the Rhonda, what's her last name? The one who did The Law of Attraction, The Secret?
Byrne is
Yeah,
the one with The Secret
that was based
had
upon.
written about that. She wrote about Waddles and Hanel. I wrote about Waddle. The joke is I wrote about a book about Waddles and Hanel a year before The Secret came out, and it's amazing how people think alike. And she published her book in this movie and became a superstar. She's in the top 100 most list of spiritual people in the Body, Mind, and Spirit magazine a few months ago. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, they're, thoughts held in mind. There's one mind common to
There's only
all,
one
and so
mind,
she just
yeah.
grabbed on those ideas. You have another book you want to tell us?
Well, I was going to say anything by Catherine Ponder.
Well, that,
look
what
up-
we, yeah, Catherine Ponder is fantastic. What's your
Yeah.
favorite?
My favorite book by Catherine Ponder is The Secret of Unlimited Prosperity.
The Secrets of Unlimited Prosperity. Yeah, I like
Yes.
that. My favorite Ponder book is The Prospering Power of Love. That is a fantastic book where she just talks about just really stop judging, stop being critical, stop condemning, and look for the good, talk about the good, and just love, love, love. Put your love out energy, and that's a really great prosperity key.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also love the book by Florence Scovel Shinn called The Game of Life and How to Play It. That is a fantastic book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Matter of fact, Florence Scovel Shinn, Shinn, she has a book of the collected writings that is available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, George, I'm going to ask you if there's any closing words, any ideas that you'd like to leave with the viewing audience as we come to the end and wrap up our show.
I think my best advice really is to think about what you want to do and think about your desires and make a decision. Make a decision. They call it a burning desire, and commit to something and put one foot in front of the other. And it wouldn't, it wouldn't be possible unless you're thinking about it. So if you're thinking about it, it's something usually that's possible. And I come from New Orleans, and I lived a block away from the Mannings in the Garden District down there. And this week, Peyton Manning goes to the Super Bowl. And I used to see those boys out in the street throwing the ball to each other. And they really spent a lot of time focusing on what they really wanted to do. And they had so much fun with their dad. And, and they broke all these records, and they ended up going to these Super Bowls. It's just amazing how when people are persistent and they follow their dreams and they keep putting one foot in front of the other, even after a half dozen operations on the neck, and this guy's back in the Super Bowl, it's pretty amazing.
Right, that is amazing. And, New Thought teaches that when you have an idea, everything necessary for the fruition and the completion of the idea comes within it. It's like an acorn. Everything necessary for that to become a big, huge tree is in that acorn. And so that's a real spiritual principle. And I can remember where I've taken ideas and I threw them away. I remember one time I was in the optical field before I became a minister, because although I remember being 5 years old and wanting to be a minister, but women couldn't really do it at that time. And so I was in the optical field. I was a buyer and I was a stylist. And I came up with the idea of safety eyewear. And I had this great idea for this kind of bubble kind of frame, because back then safety eyewear, it was a thick, black, hard rubber frame. And if you got hit in the face, it hurt really bad. Well, I had this idea, and I wasn't a true student then, so I didn't know that everything necessary for the completion of the idea, if I held my thought and intention, would come to me. So I said, how am I ever going to figure out the optics of this? How am I going to make this idea come a reality? I can't do this. I let it go. 6 months later, I turn on the TV, and there is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wearing my safety glasses. I was gobsmacked. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Those were my glasses. I was like, how could that happen? And now, I have since learned that, and I've got some big dreams and big goals. And frankly, I keep most of them to myself, because I don't want anybody poo-pooing on my ideas and telling them, well, what makes you think you can do that? I only share my ideas with people who really, really support me. Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up. Karen, is there a final thing or a final idea you want to leave us with?
Well, I guess, what would I say? I think the most important thing you need to do, like George said, is set your intentions. You know, make that decision, write it down, and then just meditate on it, see it, find pictures of it, make a storyboard, whatever it is you'd like to see yourself doing or manifest. Just, no matter what, keep that foremost in your mind. And then, and like you just said, don't share it with people that you think may not support it, because you want to just stay steadfast and sure, because you know that urge, if you have that divine urge within you, that spirit speaking to you, saying to you, you're ready for this now. And everything necessary, like you said, will show up right on time.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. And Carrie, what do you want to leave us with?
Always be grateful. Always have an attitude, as you say, of gratitude. Be gracious, be thankful, be grateful, and just know that the universe is going to unfold and you'll have everything you want.
Absolutely.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I would like to tell the guests, I would like to tell not only the guests, I want to tell the viewing audience about upcoming shows. Next week, we have Kevin Ross. Kevin Ross wrote the book about the designer life. He's a Unity minister in Sacramento, California. He has a TV show, and he's just fantastic. So via Skype next week, we have Kevin Ross. In studio is going to be Christina Gochin of the Daniel Gale Agency. So we have a great show for you lined up next week. And the following week, we have Reverend Jean Sweet, who is a rip. This is one of the funniest ladies I know. And she's going to talk to us about her mindset. And it's just a wonderful mindset where she goes, okay, universe, more, more, more. I love it. The following week, we have Michelle Whittington, Dr. Michelle Whittington. She is of the Creative Living Fellowship in Phoenix, Arizona, a fantastic ministry. And just, gosh, talk about an innovative leader. Michelle is going to be that following week, the second Thursday in February. And the final week, we have Bonnie Barnard, who wrote the book about Emma Curtis Hopkins it's called It's All Good, It's All God. So tune in. Be sure to tell your friends. Please like us on Facebook. We have 2 pages on Facebook. One is Spirituality Rocks, and it's a group, and the other is the TV show Spirituality Rocks. So check us out. And tell your friends, if they want to see the show, they can go to ustream.com. Ustream, USTREAM.com. Look up Spirituality Rocks, and you can see any of the shows that we have, any of our past shows. So thank you for telling your friends. I would like to thank our special guest, George Mentz, for joining us. Spiritual Wealth Management. Thank you so much for being with us, George. We bless you.
Everyone.
We appreciate you. Reverend Karen, and don't forget to check out his book on Amazon, Spiritual Wealth Management, and his website is spiritualwealthmanagement.com. Reverend Karen Gigante of the Center for Spiritual Living in Hicksville, New York. If you are local on Long Island, which most of our video audience isn't, but if you are, you can check her out in Hicksville.
See us.
How can people reach you? Do you want to give your number? For Sacred Spaces, how do they reach you?
They can call me at 516-659-2366.
Say it again?
516-659-2366.
And Carrie is our fabulous stylist, spiritual but not religious, as she calls herself. How can people reach you if they want some styling tips?
Anthony Richard Salon in Huntington, 631-486-7744.
Again, 631.
486-7744.
And I'm your host, Janine Burns. I can always be reached on Facebook, Janine Burns. My cell number is 516-909-0103, 516-909-0103. I want to invite you on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. is the Maverick Soul Hour. Check out Tommy Marr. He has some great shows coming up, and the recent shows with George Thorogood was just amazing. So check it out. And so that's it this week for Spirituality Rocks. I want to leave you with a couple of my favorite affirmations that I have written down for you. And that is that there's only one presence and power that expresses through me as me. I'm divinely guided in all I think, say, and do, and prosperity is my divine birthright. I'm Janine Burns signing off this week on Spirituality Rocks. See you next time.